This media medley had originally started a lot more messy, but I think I was able to tie everything all together. Idiocy on the internet. This first section is about the Lore Lodge. I find the statements they make on their live streams contradictory. The idea that they can take a financial hit doing a series that doesn't normally get a high view count compared to what they normally do, but also be struggling with money, gives me a small aneurysm.
When it comes to JonBenet, I was kind of like, all right, I'll wait. I'll wait until the views are up again and we can take the hit, because I love doing the story. I'm fascinated. I'm really invested, and I know a lot of you guys are too. But my hope was that it would basically get to a point where, like, okay, we're doing really well on 3 of the videos every month. That'll allow me to take the hit doing the JonBenet video. Point is, as much as we love doing this job, it is also a job. We do have to worry about the amount of money that's coming in. We have people who depend on us for getting paid. We have, a lot of irons in the fire. We're trying to grow into more than just being a YouTube channel.
White Trash Panda here. I've been telling you for years to stop trying to please the algorithm, make the content you want to make, and the numbers will come in time.
But when we do that, the numbers don't come. The numbers go down.
That's the problem, is like,
we did what we wanted to do for a while, and it didn't come, and then we started being like, what's the algorithm want? And then we started to get popular, and we were able to actually do this for a living.
There is another clip from a later stream where they've talked about financial issues, and I will show that. But I know how quickly a financial situation can change in a week, so I don't put too much weight on that comment. But these ones? They're all from the same stream. It makes me wonder how exactly the money is being spent and how they can have so much going on, but also no funding. They roughly have a stream a week, super chats abound, weekly-ish videos that do relatively well, a Patreon, a religious-themed podcast with Wendigoon that's on and off, another history-related podcast with someone who will come up soon. Even if you do split the revenue on these podcast channels, where is your share going? I mean, they look like they're in a fancy studio. I'm sure that has rent and utilities. They might have significant others and people who work for them? Maybe? I don't know. This feels like one of those things where they decided to go full-time YouTube even though it's barely covering everything. So when something underperforms, they can technically deal with it, but not in a comfortable sense. Like a through gritted teeth, this is fine type of dealing. Well, they do bring it up in another stream a month later. Again, I don't put too much stock in this one, since it's just the one comment on this stream, but there are some things to discuss regardless.
If they can hit those numbers, we can do them once a month, and I can chug through this. Again, that's not us complaining. I will say it's very weird when people are like, why is it taking you so long to get through this? And I'm like, well, because we take a financial hit every time we do, and we have bills to pay, and we run a business, and and then they're like, well, then so it's all about the money for you then? And I'm like, well, no, the fact that we're doing it despite the financial hit would indicate that it's not.
It's not. Yeah, it's just that we have both people and businesses.
People rely on us,
on our income.
So it's really not about the money.
People that rely on your income. Yeah, I could see that. Businesses? Not so much. There are businesses where if you, in particular, do not spend money on them, they're going under. Like if you skip buying Captain Crunch for 1 week, his ship is sinking. Or do you mean all these podcasts in your own channel? Because that's a little different. Those might technically be businesses, but I doubt most people would consider that when you say businesses are dependent on us. Because those podcasts and your channel are yours. While saying there are businesses makes it sound like it's something you have no control over. Something that requires you to make a certain amount of income regardless of what you do. Your podcasts and your channel can make more or less money depending on what you do. They are dependent on your income, but you can change the amount they make for you, unlike some third-party business you just shell the funds out to. And what other conclusion are people meant to come to if you keep telling them you'll take the financial hit with this certain series every time you do it? That YouTube steals a portion of your check whenever you go back to this one series in particular? If someone slows down on a particular project and their response when asked why is it's hurting me financially, there's no other conclusion to draw from that than it's about money. You just said it was about money, just not as overtly. Lastly, with Lore Lodge is something I think is scummy. At the very least, it's retarded. I can't believe nobody's talking about this. So, their history podcast is done with someone named Stephen Bell, and their coverage of Tartaria is interesting to say the least, with one exception.
And I thought, there were a few different ways. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you're probably aware by this point that it is a compilation to an extent, but we don't like to just put up compilations. We like to put up compilations that have new material in them. Like what we did with the C-Take-A video where, yeah, it was 2 of our old videos, but I interspersed some new material, threw in some corrections, some adjustments, things like that.
Yeah, I can understand that. If you're going to compile some older work together and re-upload it, the least you could do is correct some things and make adjustments when necessary. I will say, before we go any further, they have one post making it seem as if there will be a new Tartaria video out the gate. A bit misleading, but nothing inherently wrong with that. I mean, it's not like the actual video about Tartaria they did for their channel was just a compilation of their previous Tartaria videos from 2 years ago with a new intro, outro, and an ad.
No! They did the thing! They compiled the work without any change!
I can't fathom why nobody is talking about this. Their Terraria conspiracy videos from 2 years ago are still up. You can go look at them and realize that they're the same. No adjustments, no add-ons, nothing. Fucking nothing. The 14-minute increase to this new upload can be attributed exclusively to the new intro, new ad, and new outro. So it's not like they added anything new with this compilation. There's hundreds of videos about the tartar sauce conspiracy. You could have made a new breakdown going over someone else. Realistically, this is because they're busy, I guess? Uploading and streaming once a week, multiple podcasts. I can see how they could easily fall behind, but crazy idea maybe. Change your schedule? Push back your uploads? Do something other than be extremely lazy with the terraforming conspiracy. Moving on. Asmongold made a statement in a video I find to be extremely stupid, considering what he does on the internet nowadays.
You can't take criticism? No, I can't. No, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want your criticism. I don't need it. I don't care. I don't want to see it. Yeah. Who says I'm obligated to take your criticism? Oh, that's right, you do. Because it's your criticism. There's always people that put a very high weight on their own words. Sorry to say, but I don't really feel the same way. Anyway, let's move on, okay? We're not gonna get to, what the fuck are we doing fighting about this?
Unfortunately, I see 2 ways this statement pretty much undermines everything that isn't gameplay from Asmongold. Firstly, if you do believe this, then your opinion on anything to anyone can be refuted with the same argument. They have no reason to care about your criticism because it's not something they put stock into. At that point, your opinion and all opinions become worthless if everyone thinks that way. The retarded way. Secondly, you didn't mean it the way you said it because you just don't care about criticism directed at you. In which case, use your words better. It's not everyone else's job to piecemeal together what you mean from your tone and what you could have meant and how you were feeling with the astral alignment of your asshole to the moon. It's just so stupid. You undermine pretty much everything you've done by saying this. Anyone you criticize could say your argument back to you because it's an argument that negates everything indiscriminately. Or you meant to say something else and are just stupid. I personally hope that the Lore Lodge replaced you with a Tartaria clone from futures past. Next up is Meat Canyon, specifically his Papa Meat channel. I have no issue with the animations, but some of his variety content is just... These videos, like ranking every chain restaurant that involves food, are planned out with zero thought. They go to all the restaurants they list in the video, for example, in one day. Just one. How the fuck are you supposed to experience a restaurant accurately if every place you go to you get one alcoholic drink and share one appetizer and sometimes your meals between each other? Especially since you're in a hurry to do it all in one day. You're not even really spending enough time at these places. How is it meant to be fair to the restaurant when you go there, see something online, and just assume every chain would have that? There's so many problems with the video if you think it over for a few seconds. And that's ignoring the annoying ass family vlog bit overlaid throughout the entire video. The entire concept is just executed poorly most of the time, and could be fixed if you considered these problems for any amount of time. More to come from Meat Canyon, though, on my Talk to Me review. For his brain cells are lost, and the vast emptiness of his skull knows no bounds. Lastly is Rags, who I think contradicts his own argument just because, and has a stance that just doesn't really make sense in the first place. Firstly, I guess this bit about Marvel Rivals because I don't think this is the right place to hold fast for a principle.
Marvel Rivals, that's a game that I will not play. I refuse to play it because of the censorship of the chat. Anything that the Communist Party of China deems too politically incorrect, banned, can't say it in chat. So I won't play the game. That's a personal line for me. I don't want to support a game that bends over for evil communists.
Marvel Rivals is free. But if you consider playing the game supporting it, fine, I get it. But do you not play any multiplayer online style game? Every one of those has some form of chat moderation. Overwatch 2 and League of Legends will not restrict you from talking bad about communism. But let's say I want to tell my teammate he should have been aborted because they're playing so god-awful, I wonder what I did to get someone like that in my game. I can't. Moderation is an unfortunate necessity for many of these massive multiplayer games. And while I don't particularly like it anywhere, I recognize that Marvel Rivals is a much better game than Overwatch 2. While I won't spend money on either, I'd much rather play the game that actually felt like it had some thought that went into the design of game modes and characters. Hell, didn't they bring back the 6v6 mode to Overwatch 2 and just give up on the PvE they promised? So what was the point of the reboot? And I guess a lesser point, I doubt anyone is using these games to talk about political issues around the world. I can't think of what else the Communist Party would care to moderate from their chats. Understandable if you're shooting the shit with friends that things like that would come up, but you're probably talking to them in Discord. The voice chat in Marvel Rivals is pretty bare bones. And why would you even want to engage random people with a discussion about communism and world politics is beyond me. The other point Rags brings up that I disagree with is in a different video, where he's shitting on someone named Solari. Solari is retarded. I basically have no sympathy for someone trying to guilt-trip people into financially supporting them. The last little speech at the end here by Rags is something I have trouble agreeing with, however. It's similar to Asmongold's comment in the sense that this type of argument could be used as a global negator in any conversation. And he's also encountered people using a similar type of argument before.
Nah, the world is not an endless shit show. I hate this doomer, everything is terrible nonsense. You people have no perspective, and both the left and the right do it all the time, and I'm sick of it. You live in the best time for humanity so far. Do I even need to elaborate on what an insanely privileged position that you're in just because you're alive today? We have 24/7 access to all the food we could ever possibly hope to eat, with a variety that is unheard of to our ancestors, to the point where obesity is one of the biggest health issues facing us. Our modern society is so incredible, we pump an endless supply of purified drinking water into our homes so that we can shit in it. Every one of us is so accustomed to a constant and steady stream of cheap electricity that we complain if it flickers for a split second. Our houses are sealed and climate controlled so that no matter the season or weather, we're always warm and dry. We have access to the sum of all human knowledge at the tips of our fingers, and for free, we receive the kind of education and learning that was once reserved for kings and high priests. We can engage in essentially whatever hobbies we want, we can wear what clothes we want, and we have a chance at practically any job or career that we want. We have untold, unprecedented amounts of social mobility. You have a stable government that ensures you can say whatever you want, practice whatever religion you want, and at least here in America, we have one of the best judicial systems ever devised by man. You not only can travel anywhere in your local area effortlessly and quickly, you can travel the whole country if you want. You can travel the globe. We're so accustomed to it that if our plane flight across the country is delayed by half an hour, we'll complain. If you're sick, you have access to modern medicine and all of its wonders. International trade and modern logistics ensures that you can have fresh fruit and berries in the middle of winter, that you could buy anything you want from anywhere on the planet whenever you want to. Do I need to go on? Because I feel like I've kind of got the idea across. I'm not saying that we've solved society, that we don't have our problems, that we don't have a long way to go, because obviously there's many things to work on, and we should. But maybe, before you doomer pill people about how terrible society is and how capitalism is to blame and how miserable things are, consider that you're complaining about it from your modern, multi-monitor personal computer in your air-conditioned home in your democratic Western nation on the internet to thousands of people, all of whom can read and write and make so much money that they can send some of it to you for free, no strings attached, because of the kindness in their hearts. So maybe take one moment to consider how insanely well off you are, Mr. Can't Work a Job because of PTSD.
The doomer idea of the world is something I think that's relatively complex and not really related here. It's something I hope to at least touch on in a future video somehow. To keep it brief, I think it's probably growing in popularity because while the world is neither a horrible, hellish cesspit, it's not a sunshiny, bountiful paradise. It's unfortunately a messy pool of middling gray. While you most likely will encounter small blips of good and bad in your day-to-day occurrences, you're bound to dwell on the bad more often. Regardless of the doomer pill, this little speech about how the world has advanced so far that we're so privileged now, yeah, but I don't think that really matters in this case. The world has advanced greatly, but to flaunt it here in the face of someone, while very hateable and unsympathetic, is tone deaf. Let's say, for example, I'm complaining to a friend about my truck. It's been having problems lately. I'm not going to be able to get to work if it gives out on me. And if I miss too much work, I'm going to lose my job. And if I lose my job, I'll have no income, etc., etc. If that friend then did something like this, telling me how privileged I am to live in this time period and all that, I would consider if he was paying attention to anything I said. If the situation ends up with me losing all my income and living on the streets, it doesn't particularly matter what time period I'm in. I'm not going to get to indulge in the privileges of an era I'm in if I can't afford them. And while Solari should find a different job if a few patrons leaving him are going to leave him destitute, I think just saying that is a better argument than listing off the privileges we enjoy as long as we can afford them. I made reference to it earlier, but this is similar to Asmongold's comment, where you could reflect this type of argument in any situation. It would be ultimately useless, but anyone could use it in any type of argument, making it a global negator of sorts. It essentially would be stifling discussion in pretty much every case. The argument is so broad that it can't not be used anywhere, and anyone can use it to ignore the point of the conversation. But this also annoys me because Rags on EFAP has encountered red letter media using this argument style to avoid dealing with something else.
And then people are like, well, his birth year was established in the books, not the Phantom Menace, and the books are not technically canon. And I was like, oh. I mean, there's people starving around the world.
Yes, there is.
And here you are
Come
talking
on.
about the acolyte.
Red Letter Media had used the fact that there are starving people around the world to avoid discussing a problem with the Star Wars lore involving the Acolyte show. This is another global negation type of argument to avoid discussing the problem by deflecting to something entirely unrelated. He's here for this episode, or at least this clip from their EFAP Highlights channel at least. I guess this is something he forgot about in the making of his Solari video? It's not exactly the same, so I can see how this slipped by, but it's pretty similar. Avoiding addressing someone's point by pointing to something else in the world is essentially the boiled down version of both of these situations. It's particularly frustrating not only because Rags has encountered this type of ignoring the problem because of X type argument here with Red Letter Media, but also because the rest of his Solari video is pretty good. He even does a good job at arguing against Solari's other points. He just drops the ball here kinda at the end of the video. Even if you don't like Solari, that doesn't give you a license to ignore and hand wave away his argument with another argument that doesn't really address his horrible points. I recall Red Letter Media getting backlash for using starving people as a shield to avoid arguing their points about Acolyte, but I guess everyone hates Solari so much we just let this weak avoidant argument slide here. I guess that's it for this media medley, but I do have a quick Switch update if anyone cares for that. The most recent update turned off my online license thingy. Basically, I wasn't allowed to play any game I had gotten from the eShop without a virtual game card, like I assume you would need for the Switch 2 games you get from that eShop. Alternatively, you could turn the online license back on, and that took me a little too long to figure out how to do. I couldn't find anyone talking about it, and I don't really know why. Guess the Switch 2 problems are only growing, and this one fell by the wayside. I'm working on a pair of Talk To Me videos, and hopefully getting those out goes smoothly. I'm not gonna bother butchering the movie to get clips that make it line up with what I'm talking about, but my breakdown of the movie will be pretty long. So, sorry. I would much rather you listen to me, be very boring and try to work in funny bits throughout the script, than that god-awful movie. You're welcome to, I just wouldn't recommend it. Hence why my breakdown will be so long. I'm going to try and touch on every single beat in the movie and talk about why it's bad. The second Talk To Me video will be going over some reviews that are wrong and bad. Look forward to growing to hate Meat Canyon and Penguin Zero as much as I do.